Right. This example is on 329. Hurry up. Right, and it's, like I say, it's pretty similar to the problems that I was going to assign. But it says that throughout the day, the depth of water at the end of a dock varies with the tides. The table shows the depths in meters at various times in the morning. So here's the data. How do you normally, well, if we're gonna use these for our x and the y values, then the y values are pretty easy, right? Because there they are. But the x values, what are we going to use for our x's? I mean, let's say midnight is 0, and that's 2, and that's 4, and it goes all the way up to noon. What are you going to use after noon? Yeah, use the military time, right? 0 to 24 hours. So this is, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and then the next would have been 14. So if you wanted to model it in your calculator, you could. Now, we have choices. If you put that in the calculator and graph it, or if you just graphed it by hand and you looked at the shape, you would think, okay, it does look like one of our waves, right? It's either a sine or a cosine, and you could pick your pick. One of them is just a pi over 2 shift of the other anyways. They chose in this, and I'm going to just follow their example, so it's you have a reference in the book too. They said, let's use the cosine function. All right, the cosine function, we know normally the cosine function starts at its maximum at x equals 0, and then it goes down from there on either side. So maybe they chose the cosine function because it's pretty easy to see then the shift that's going on. It looks like this shift is, right, 0 to 4. So it looks like we've got a horizontal shift of 4. We can see the maximum and the minimum, right? Well, it must be that the middle is halfway in between those two. How could I calculate exactly halfway between those two? Yeah, min plus max over 2. And if you did that, the max is 4.4 and the min is 1.8. So if you did that, you're going to get that this value right here is 3.1. So which one of these letters does that 3.1 represent? The graph now, the middle of the graph, which used to be here, is now here. What kind of it's the vertical shift, so which one is that? So we just learned the D by that. Okay. Right. How can we find the A now that we know what the D is? Right. So what's this distance right here? Right. This was 4.4, right? 4.4, and this is 3.1. So the A is 1.3, right? So the A is 4.4 minus 3.1 equals 1.3. Okay, what does it look like the period of this is? I mean, how long does it take to go from, you could say this point is the same as this. So it's going through one exact cycle, one cycle from here to here. So what is the period from here to here? It's 12. It makes sense. These things are going to have a cycle. It looks like every day it goes through 2, goes through one cycle in 12 hours. Well, if that's the period, we know we calculate the period by pi over b. So what that's going to allow us to do is, 2 pi over b. That's going to allow us to find the b. So solve for b. b equals 12 over 2 pi. Did I got that right? No, 2 pi over 12. That's a mistake. Which, they did the calculation here, so I'm just going to use that. That's 0.524. Multiply by b, divide by 12. So we know now that the B, that's the B. So now we know the D and we know the A and we know the B. The only thing we don't know is the C, right? But we've said we know what the horizontal shift is. It's 4. Okay, 4 to the right. So it'll be a minus. What's the formula for the horizontal shift? Is it this number exactly? It's C over B, right? So what we know is that C divided by B is 4. But we already know what the B is, right? It's there. So substitute that. You're going to get C equals 4 times 0.524, which is, where's the 2.094? Because we looked at the graph. You know, we could see the peak of the graph for the data, it reaches its peak at 4, but actually cosine would normally have been here. So it's shifted to the right 4. Yeah. So with that, we know all these numbers. Here's the model. Y equals 3.1 plus 1.3 cosine of 0.524. We'll call it T just because it's time, minus 2.094. And if you had like put this in the calculator so that you could see the data, then you could like put that equation on Y1 and see whether it goes through the points. And they did in this question ask you to do a couple predictions and figure out what's the tide at 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. 9 a.m. would have been halfway between these two. 3 p.m. was beyond our data, but we could have predicted with our model. Cancel that.